Hello, everybody. Hello, my dear teachers in Taiwan. This is my final lecture and also a lecture which will help you to get your hands dirty, meaning getting into the nitty-gritty of planning an actual lesson in CLIL planning. It can be more than one lesson. It can be one unit of work that go across several lessons, maybe 2 lessons, maybe 3 lessons, depending on your time schedule. So it's a unit of work in CLIL with different stages. So this is the overview. First of all, I will introduce a framework called MEC. This is a very useful framework to guide our planning of the unit of work, to guide our lesson planning in CLIL. And then I will illustrate with an example, planning a healthy diet, planning a healthy lunchbox. Now the MEC, in the last lecture, I have briefly introduced the MEC, multimodalities and textualization cycle. Now don't be scared by the word multimodalities. It just means more than the spoken or written language mode. And it's not just the language mode. It includes visuals, diagrams, actions, gestures, role plays, all kinds of meaning-making resources apart from language. Language is one mode of meaning-making. And textualization, again, don't be scared about this long term. It just means to put your meanings into a text, to contextualize your meanings, what you want to say. It can be a spoken text, it can be a written text, it can be a multimedia, multimodal text. Right? Just meaning, finally, you design your final outcome and product. That's the student's final output. So last time we said there are 3 stages in this cycle. And each stage has a main purpose. First stage is to use all kinds of resources, meaning-making resources, multimodalities, to help students, and bilingual resources, multilingual resources, just to activate their interest, to get them excited about the content topic that you are going to teach. And then the second stage is to help students to do some reading and do some note making based on the reading to extract the main points, the main information points from the reading. Since they got excited about the topic, they want to learn more about the topic, and then we scaffold their reading using bilingual approach, using parallel text in their L1 and their L2, familiar and unfamiliar languages, the parallel bilingual text approach, bilingual notes approach. And also we use graphic organizers, flowcharts, tables to help them to make notes, to scaffold their note-taking activity. And then the final stage is to help them, scaffold them to put everything together, their learning, their meanings, their understanding of the content topic, to produce some final outcome, final product. It can be a spoken presentation, it can be a poster, it can be a song, it can be, so it can be quite creative, but they have to create some output for you, spoken or written or both, or even multimodal. They can create a PowerPoint, they can create a digital story, they can create a YouTube video, they can create a song, okay, to express their understanding of the topic. So now I would like to introduce the term parallel tasks. It just means they are similar, the tasks are similar. But if you ask students to do the same task, it's very boring, right? But if you ask them to do a totally different task, then it's very challenging. So the concept of parallel tasks is tasks that are similar in terms of content and language demands, but with some interesting, meaningful variation. I'll show you an example. And the teacher demonstrates how to produce a text in a given genre, given text type, and then engage students in guided writing, guiding them to co-construct a text in a similar genre. Okay, so um, teachers might be worried if I show students how to do a task, then they just copy my answer, right? Now, don't worry. With the concept of parallel tasks, is the first task is kind of like a demonstration. Then the second task is not exactly the same. The student cannot exactly copy everything you have done in the first task, but you have scaffolded them, you have supported them by having a similar task but not exactly the same, with variation in the meaning, but with some similarities in terms of the language, so that it's not overly difficult for the students, and yet it's not overly boring because there is variation in the content meaning. Okay. So now in the examples I'm going to show you, uh, parallel task 1, parallel task 2, food detective. Students need to identify food items and to say whether they're healthy or not. And then in the task 2, they need to create their own healthy and unhealthy lunchbox. So it's repeated twice, each with some variation in their task meaning. And this is the concept of repetition with variation. Repetition with variation, the concept of parallel task. So teachers demonstrate the first task with the students, so kind of guiding them, so it's not overly challenging. And then students to attempt independently on their own. They create their own writing, they create their own multimodal product using what they have learned from the first task, independently this time, without teachers' uh, guidance, but with lots of support. So, for example, you can integrate this kind of CLIL unit of work into your regular syllabus. For example, in your Taiwan, this is taken from your Taiwanese curriculum syllabus. So this unit of work that I'm showing you as an example is taken to be really amenable to be integrated into your existing school curriculum in Taiwan. So this is 食在安心，这个健康，这个饮食与运动。So these are the curriculum topics that can integrate your unit of work. So now when you plan a unit of work in CLIL, we have to bear in mind the dual focuses, meaning you need to have both language learning objectives and also content learning objectives. This is the purpose of CLIL, right? You're not just only teaching language. You're not just teaching content. You're teaching both. And you need to plan both kinds of learning objectives. So first of all, the content learning objectives will be students with, after going through your unit of work, they will be able to tell which food items are healthy and which are not healthy. And they can classify them under different food groups, like carbohydrates or proteins or vitamins or fiber. So this is real content learning. And then they need to create a food plate that is healthy. So these are the content learning objectives. But then going hand in hand with the content learning objectives, we also need to plan the language learning objectives, which help them to express their meanings for the content topic. So for this topic, we will have vocabulary items like lunchbox, sausage, fried drumsticks, pearl milk tea, the famous 珍珠奶茶, the broccoli, carrot, and so on. And then food pyramid, this is a science topic. This is a vocabulary item useful in health sciences. And nutrients, and contain is a useful verb to describe the nutrients contained in different food items. So vocabulary as one learning objective, language learning objective, students need to learn these vocabulary items. And we also need to plan the sentence patterns which are useful for students to express their argument. So they will say, this is healthy because, this is unhealthy because. So we need to teach them the sentence patterns, very useful in discussing and arguing whether this food item is healthy or not, or this diet, this lunchbox is healthy or not. And we're also teaching them as one of the language learning objectives, the genre of a descriptive report. They need to, it's a very short description to say what constitutes, what makes up a healthy diet. So you see, for this unit of work, you have clearly defined learning objectives for language and for content, dual objectives. That is CLIL. That's the spirit and principle of CLIL, both kinds of objectives. You will notice that the language objectives are there to support students' content learning. They support each other. Okay, so this is the example I'm going to walk you through. In the first stage of the MEC, we give this activity to the students. We give them this handout and also show it on your PowerPoint. And we say, hey, find out the first in Chinese lunchbox. Draw lines to match the 7 food items with the pictures. This basic, very, very basic matching the picture with the vocabulary items. So chocolate bar, sausage, fried drumsticks. The students can find it easy to do in the first stage. You don't want to scare them away, right? You want to make them interested in the topic, get them interested in the topic. Now, notice I have used this bilingual notes approach in Chinese, in English, okay? And we underline the important word 7, so they know that they need to line up 7 items, label 7 food items. The basic vocab learning, but is contextualized in the topic. This is the first stage. And then, so second, as students are given food items, 珍珠奶茶 is very familiar in the Taiwanese everyday life. So all these students, yum, yum, I want to eat. So this is the first stage. Create an interesting, rich context full of familiar experiences. You don't want to scare them away. You want to activate their interest in the first stage. Then the second stage, we need to get them to do some reading and some note taking. This is academic reading. It's not easy. So it's a food pyramid in health sciences. And we need to give them a little bit language support. Okay, spreads is not jam, is a quite idiomatic way of saying jam, and poultry. So we give them, again, the bilingual notes approach, see? So the students don't feel so scared. I mean, like 国小的同学, 国中的同学, even the 高中的学生, 可能他们也会有一点点的so many English words I don't know, right? So we need to support them. We don't want to kill their interest. You see, CLIL is we don't want to kill them, okay? CLIL, not kill, okay? We don't want to kill their interest. We want to support them so that they're interested in doing our CLIL unit of work, our bilingual unit of work. But in the end, we help them to expand their vocab range and learn more sentence patterns and read this academic text in health sciences. See, we have nutrients here. We also support them. We try to support them with some of the familiar vocabulary words to help them. Imagine you are doing this in French or in Russian, right? Your students looking at this might feel that, oh, so difficult. So we have to support them using translanguaging pedagogy. So students are giving this graph, this diagram to support them so that they don't find, oh, it's full of English words. And they also read, this is called the text type. The genre is a descriptive report. This is giving information about the food pyramid. So they're learning this text type, this genre. A genre can be understood as a text type, and it is a descriptive report. And when students are reading it, they are also reading the definition of the food pyramid and the purpose of using the food pyramid. So the first paragraph gives a definition and purpose of the food pyramid. The second paragraph describes the facts about the food pyramid. The conclusion, the third paragraph gives the conclusion. So this genre is this text is very cohesive. It goes through a sequence of 3 stages to produce a very coherent text called description text to describe the topic food pyramid. So as we are teaching students to read, we guide students to analyze the description text so that they know, oh, for a description text, the first stage is to introduce the food pyramid by giving a definition, by stating the purpose. And the second paragraph, we can describe the main points, the main information points about the food pyramid. And in the third paragraph, you could summarize and conclude of how to use the food pyramid as a summary. So as we guide students through this reading, we also help students to analyze the different stages in this genre, in the genre of a descriptive text, so that students can write a descriptive text after reading it, right? If we don't analyze it for them, they wouldn't be able to understand, oh, a descriptive text, we need to go through 3 stages to write. So this is a genre-based approach to reading and writing. So we also provide students with a graphic organizer to help them to take notes. So the food pyramid, what is it? Why do we need it? How to use it? The 3 paragraphs in the descriptive text. And then the key points are here. And we scaffold them by asking them to fill in the blanks so that they learn how to take notes. And later on, as they become more proficient in taking notes and their language proficiency is increasing, then we can gradually take away some of the scaffolding, okay? Now, beginners level, more scaffolding. We want to scaffold them to succeed, not to scare them away, say, oh, so difficult, I don't want to do CLIL anymore, right? You want them to do CLIL. So students extract key information from the text into a graphic organizer, and then they scaffold it all the way. That's the second stage. The third stage is the production stage. They need to produce something. So they need to explain whether Jia has a healthy meal or not. Again, we use this sentence generation table. I call it a sentence generation powerhouse, like electricity, generating electricity. And this sentence making table can generate lots of different sentences. So Jia has a healthy meal because sausages, meat is good for her, or not healthy meal because sausages are bad for her. And eating too many sausages is bad for her, or eating too much fried chicken, Kentucky fried chicken, is bad for her. So using this kind of sentence making table, it can generate lots of different sentences. So if you just ask the students explain to you, they will put I don't know what to say. But if you scaffold them, that's why I say we scaffold them all the way with sentence generation powerhouse, okay? And later on, of course, when they are more proficient, we can gradually take away the scaffolding. But initially, we need to anticipate, we need to find out what kind of sentence patterns they need, and we design the sentence making tables to scaffold their production skills. The speaking skills, writing skills, is sentence making skills. We need to give them these sentence patterns. So, useful sentence patterns. And then, below is Miss Cow's lunchbox. Tell what she eats, draw nice. You see, it's very parallel, the first task. But it's not Cha Yi, it's Cha Yi's teacher, Miss Cow. And the food items are totally different. And we repeat the same task, we call repetition with variation. So let's see whether Chinese teacher 这个高老师的便当是不是很健康，或者是一点都不健康。So students will say, see, let's see whether the teacher is having a healthy lunchbox or not, healthy meal or not, right? Repetition with variation, parallel tasks. You can see that students are scaffolded because there is some similarity in the language, in the sentence patterns, and yet the meaning is slightly different. So, and then we do another repetition with variation. Superman has lost his power. Can you create a healthy lunchbox for Superman? So we repeat the same task, and students can draw the lunchbox, label the food items, and write a few sentences to explain why this is healthy, why this is not. This is healthy lunchbox for Superman. Then when we further repeat the task, you have your enemy who's stolen your books. Now you create a very unhealthy lunchbox for your enemy. See, you repeat the same task 3 times, but each time with a twist in the meaning so that it's not boring. But students are scaffolded all the way. They get lots of practice using the sentence patterns, using the food items, the vocabulary. Okay, and then we have another MEC. Now, 珍珠奶茶 is famous. I like 珍珠奶茶. And then you play the first stage of the MEC. You play this YouTube video saying that, oh, one 一天一杯你会搬5公斤, okay? So you use videos, you use interesting social media to activate students' interest. Is 珍珠奶茶 so unhealthy? So in this stage, you can use Chinese, use English, doesn't matter, because the purpose is to create a rich experience for students with this topic. Whether 珍珠奶茶 is healthy or not, they need to find out how you can make 珍珠奶茶 less unhealthy. So second stage, they need to read and make notes. So this is, again, a descriptive text they need to read. Again, it follows the sequence of stages: introduction, description, conclusion, right? So students get lots of practice in reading a similar genre, a similar text type, the descriptive report. And then they go through note making. Again, we use a graphic organizer to help them. So this is how to make, what are the ingredients to make the 珍珠奶茶, the pearl drink. So after reading text, students take notes by organizing the key points, key information points into this useful graphic organizer. So again, they're learning a useful academic study skill to read and to extract the key points into a graphic organizer. This is really useful academic study skills for them in the future. And in the final stage, they need to reinvent, redesign the 珍珠奶茶 recipe to make it healthier. So for example, instead of using syrup, you use honey instead of, so students can discuss how they can rewrite, redesign the recipe of 珍珠奶茶 to make it less unhealthy. So repetition with variation, a parallel task, right? So all these students can design and give their creative recipe. So I have gone through the example of MEC and parallel tasks, repetition with variation. Now it is your turn to get into groups to plan your unit of work. Okay, so I have to say I want to thank my PhD student, Sally Cao. Sally Cao is my PhD student from Taiwan. She has helped me to design the example using the lunchbox and the Zhenju Laicha. Thank you, Sally. Um, and thank you very much. This is my final lecture with you, and I hope to have a chance to meet you face to face and to see how you're doing with CLIL lesson planning and trying out CLIL with your students. I hope you will find it fun and also tons of learning. It can be so beneficial to our students. They can learn the language, they can learn interesting content topics. Okay, so bye-bye. Thank you very much. Email me and tell me how it goes when you try out MEC, try out parallel tasks in CLIL. Bye-bye. 再见.